Thank you, Sam, for always giving real insights and giving us something to think about, and most importantly, a way forward. You know, intellectual suggestions are welcome, but you are a doer, you are a practitioner. So thank you for suggesting a 60%, 40% mix in terms of mass media and digital. This is the E4M Media Investment Summit, and hence you said branded versus sales driven. And you illustrated the link between the searches going up when you advertise on TV and IPL. When you talk to clients, and you do talk to a fair bit of clients, how do they respond to these kind of suggestions? What are the contrarian view you heard, where for a certain brand, the client had a different point of view?
See, I would say in today's India, I have seen there is a sharp divide in between clients. And with both these clients, we're always trying to sell to them something that they are against. If I look at my traditional FMCG clients, they are wedded to television. They tend to underplay the role of digital. So we have to talk to them, and we do talk to them about the diminishing role and impact of television, especially in terms of growth, and more so that when they focus too much on television, they are missing out on a large number of light TV viewers. So what I have spoken to you is not so much in media terms, but in creative terms, in terms of impact on the mind. So, whilst there is no doubt in my mind that TV may deliver better in terms of creating brand impact in the consumer's mind, what do you do if your prospective consumer is not on television? So, those traditional marketers, I think, are failing to recognize that. On the other hand, when I talk to many of, I would say, younger, new age marketers, many of them, we have to sell them digital by telling them, sell them television by telling them the kind of things I told you today, because they tend to underplay the role of digital, of television. They say, look at my own house, my children don't read newspaper, they don't watch TV. When did I last watch television? So, as I see it, we're always trying to do a job with these two sets of clients. There are, of course, now emerging a set of clients who understand this, I would say, rather well, and allow us a good
right
balance of both. And I believe the right balance is very important in today's India.
Sam, I was having breakfast with my friend Peshwa, and he's written one book and he's writing another. And I asked him, why are you writing this book? What's unique? So he said, I've worked with large brands and I've worked with new brands. And he echoed the kind of sentiment you said. He said, both have to learn from each other, and that's what I'm trying to bring out in the book.
Correct.
So there is a complete sync in what you said. Now let me ask you, with what's happening in the environment, you talked about slowdown, which certainly there is. Look at the numbers of large FMCG companies, growth last year versus growth this year, so data bears that out. Now, how are media agencies and advertising agencies, and you're a services conglomerate, how are you dealing with the changing landscape? And I'm not just talking about Madison, but you have a vantage point where you know what are the...
I would say humbly, and maybe my colleagues may not agree with me, that we're not dealing with it very well. Or I think we were a little slow to recognize the slowdown that is kind of now hitting us. I suspect, it's only a suspicion, that the kind of thing we are facing now, that is a slowdown, is going to be a fact of life. Because there is a slowdown, that is why marketers have to hire people like me and Harsha. Otherwise, if everything was going up, then they don't need us. As some of you may have heard me say, in the early days of television in India, we didn't have to break our heads too much. Any advertiser who I put on television, the only job I had to do was convince the advertiser to use television. The very fact that he came on television made his sales jump. It was that simple. It was that simple. So I think, as we said a long time ago, the kind of VUCA world that exists is going to continue for a long time. And I think if not this, something else will hit us. New competition is going to come. Something else will... See, even now when we talk of slowdown, what is happening is that there is, maybe you could say, a redistribution of money and wealth. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. That is why you don't get, table bookings at restaurants which charge a mini fortune for a dinner. You don't get airline tickets shooting up. 5-star hotels during peak weekends want to charge 50,000 rupees for a room night. So as we talk of slowdown, all this is also happening.
These are two realities.
These are two realities I think we'll have to live with. And therefore, people like us have to appropriately carve out marketing and media plans to meet these situations. Also, I think we will need to change our thinking, our philosophy, our strategy much more frequently than we did in the past. Maybe the concept of annual plans which we followed, and in the olden days a lot of companies had 3-year plans
AOPs.
and 5-year plans and annual plans and all. I think it maybe has to be re-examined. Maybe quarterly plans is at the best that what you can see going forward.
Thank you, Sam. Now, you outlined the changes, you outlined the new normal. What is your advice for young marketers and, there are media marketing professionals, there are advertising professionals, there are some agency professionals, in terms of the skill set and the traits required to survive in the new normal or thrive in the new normal?
I think my advice to the younger people would be that whilst it's very important to kind of recognize the new and recognize the changes and respond to them, I think there are some time-tested marketing and consumer theories that have been learned over decades. So those fundamental principles, I think they should make attempt to learn and follow, because those basic fundamentals don't change. What I spoke about, for example, storytelling, emotional connect. In my view, that is not likely to change soon. Yes, of course, the way they can be implemented will have to change. So I think you have to, so as they say, don't throw the baby out
The bathwater.
bath water. To the trade, I've been saying this for a long time, but nobody listens to me, and especially during boom time, they don't need to. I have a theory, which I've spoken about in the past, of what I call an upward spiral and a downward spiral. I think many of the media companies that I've had some detailed discussions with, and at the senior level, are majorly concerned with improving their yield and
Increasing their yield.
increasing the yield, and that is their single-minded focus. Now, in my view, whilst there may be nothing wrong in that, I feel it is again short-termism of a different nature. I'll tell you why. If a client decides to take the bold step of coming on IPL and investing a fair amount of money, paying a gigantic 15 lakhs per 10 seconds, it's good. But if that 15 lakhs per 10 seconds does not deliver return to him, is he going to come the next year?
Sam, I swear, I was going to ask you about the rising cost of cricket on television and on digital. And my supplemental question was that I was talking to a young age entrepreneur on Friday evening, and she's building a platform for influencers, micro influencers and nano influencers. And she said to me, large agencies go to the 20 top influencers because it's easy, large value, they don't have to do hard work. He was giving her. So clearly, television is easy, it involves, but I'm glad you brought out the point that media owners are obsessed with improving their yields because their acquisition price is a certain price, so they are working backward.
Yeah. So I feel the media owner should be as much obsessed with
The client success.
clients' sales and market share. Because see, the only way you can get the client to increase his advertising budget is if his sales go up.
Absolutely.
Because if you can convince him to make an investment, okay, for 1 year, for 2 years, he's not going to continuously increase his
until there is growth.
This thing. So, he should be more interested in tracking advertiser sales and what that campaign did for the advertiser when that advertiser used his platform, used his title. Did it work? Did it not work? What can he do to improve the ROI for the client. According to me, that works. If you take, and I'll give you a concrete example. If you take KBC, we all know that ratings of KBC have sharply declined in the last 5 years. Okay? Also, rates of KBC to some extent have therefore come down. But I'm told this year, KBC has some, I think, 15 sponsors. Do you know why? Because KBC figured out, thanks to people like us, and we convinced them 3 or 4 years ago to take on a small client, and we offered that client an integrated approach where Amitabh Bachchan mentioned the brand name and the client has not looked back. This is a small client, and this is the 4th year that small client is on KBC, and seeing what KBC did to this brand, they have got now so many other brands using that same kind of formula. So it's no longer just a vanilla ad running. This is what I mean by getting the media owners' involvement and participation, which can actually collectively help increase the pie.
Sam, we cannot do an advertising media investment discussion without not talking about artificial intelligence or Gen AI. Now, there are so many, you talk about how the creative message also has to be right, the storytelling has to be right, to be able to deliver on the media investment, so to say. How do you feel in the next 3 years, AI and technology will change the kind of offerings your group has and the industry has?
So, I think definitely AI will play a very good role in sort of improving the efficiency with which the advertiser spends his money. I am not entirely sure that AI can help the media owner increase his pie, because don't forget, the more efficiently and the more sharply I target my people, the less I have to advertise. However, there is a con to it, because as I see it, most advertisers do not have a good idea of who precisely their target audience is. It's not possible. Because, anybody can use a soap, anybody can use a shampoo, anybody can use this. So, you may sharply define your target audience with your core target audience. But in traditional media, when you advertise, even your non-target audience you reached.
You add, sometimes
Whereas
you convert.
in digital, when you say, this is my target audience, you only reach those people and you don't reach anyone else. So that broadening of target audience, which actually traditional media provided, and therefore, marketers could get the benefit of a much wider audience from which to recruit new users, is a little more difficult in digital. Or if you try to do it in a very broad way, then it'll become very expensive.
Right, Sam. My last question, and before I take one or two audience questions. Sam, you've been in the industry for 5 decades, almost 4 decades. You've been an entrepreneur, almost 4, not fully 4. You've seen the industry going through many cycles. You've seen new developments. You've seen new formats, new mediums being growing. You've seen the changing model of media agencies. What should we expect in the next 3 years from the services side, from the agency side? What do you think will happen? There is pressure on fees. Clients are demanding a certain kind of talent. Media owners are obsessed with yields because they're working backward. What is likely to happen?
Well, I think, obviously there is going to be change. There is going to be, lot of, I would say, technological developments. Every agency is trying his damnedest to think of some new AI-based, software to reach the target audience more accurately. In my view, whilst there have been a lot of developments on the media agency side, I think there should also be a lot of developments on understanding the psychology of how advertising works. I think there is not enough development of science in this area. Whatever we knew, we kind of know and we are just following. But I'm sure the new generation of youth, perhaps there are some indications of how mentally, emotionally they respond to advertising. And I think there is not enough, in my view, research on the qualitative impact of advertising and how we can improve that impact.
If we can
there is a lot more on how we can improve reach, how in media area I feel, or maybe because I'm more involved with it, there is more work being done in that area than on the science of how creative works on today's mind.
I'm sure we'll figure out as we go along. Only thing I can say is that for the last 2 decades, we've been talking about the world of technology, creativity, and content creation coming together. I think truly in the advertising, marketing, media space, these 3 have come together and they're creating a disruption or an opportunity, depending on how you look at, to be able to shape the future. We can take 1 or 2 questions for Sam. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. And can you get a mic to Peshwa?
Thanks, Sam. Wonderful observations. Of course, I have been in the marketing field for the last 35 years. You have been much more. One comment I want to ask from you is that do you think in the next few years in India, actually content will become media? What I mean by that is classically 35 years ago.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
In a way, content is already becoming media. And to be very honest, in fact, I would invite you to come to my next Subhash Ghoshal Memorial Lecture. And we're going to talk about role of media there. I have a speaker up my sleeve who's going to be talking about this. I think it is happening. If it begins to happen in the area of news, then it's not a nice thing. Unfortunately, it is already happening. Otherwise, in the entertainment area, I think it's fine.
the influencers are content, and I was talking to, there are Delhi elections in February, and I was the political leader, and he does value what comes on news channels, but he was also talking of influencers in the news space. Very, very interested in making sure that he gets, coverage there. So clearly that's already happening in a large way in news also. And last week the US elections happened. The last 4 weeks, both the candidates spent much more time with podcasters than they spent with mainstream media. So clearly, content creators and hence content is already becoming media, so to say, to answer your question. One more question you can take. Okay, Sam, no question, so I'll ask my last question. Sam, you've done everything and you still seem to be going very strong, and God bless you and give you long life. And what is your vision for the industry beyond Madison and beyond your own thing? Because this industry needs to reinvent itself. What would you like to see happen?
See, on another occasion, I think on maybe a similar platform, I spoke about what media agencies should do and what ails media agencies. And I don't think I can, talk about all of that, but I do have a point of view on that. Right from not able to attract the right talent at entry level. When Madison was much younger, much smaller, we were able to hire
the best
people from Bajaj. We have made a bold move last year and hired 2 management trainees out of the 40 that we hired. 2 management trainees, one from IIM Ahmedabad and one from IIM Calcutta, as an experiment to see whether that would make a difference. But for example, attracting the right entry
When
level.
you say Bajaj, he means Jamnalal Bajaj.
Jamnalal Bajaj, yeah, my institute.
Do hire from MDI.
And there are, I think, issues under pressure of competition. We seem to be dropping commissions. And there are, I would say, unhealthy practices that have crept into the business. I can't for the life of me understand that if a client wants high quality services from us, why the hell is he so hesitant to pay a little more than a pittance? So,
And the sword of media.
Several issues and on which I do want the industry to come together. After all, I understand that we are competitors and we are competing for business. But I don't think we should kill ourselves trying to kind of do this, because then you're pulling the entire industry down. And somewhere I tell the advertisers also that you're pulling yourselves down. Because, as you rightly say, I think you recall that, most of the advertisers, they are complaining that, my talent is not good. I remember one advertiser telling me 10 years ago that, Sam, I can't understand, why can't your trainees be as smart and intelligent as our trainees? They're not. So I told him, what do you pay your trainees? In those days, it was 16.5 lakhs. We were paying our trainees in those days 3.5 lakhs. So I said, there's the answer. Now you look at the fee that you're paying us and the number of people you demand on the team, which is something, multiply that number by the entry level salary, 16.5 lakhs, and then see how it works out. So he tells me, okay, why don't you talk to your industry colleagues? And we have no problem if this is the prevailing entry level commission that everybody charges us, then we are fine paying that. But we can't have a situation where we pay Madison a much higher commission than what somebody else is willing to offer me. Because I also have a procurement division, I have a CEO who questions me, I'm constantly under pressure, so
Sure.
that's how it is. So there are a few issues like that we need to, in my view, sort out. I think as a media agency industry, we are a lot more cohesive than many other industries, but still we need to do a little bit of fixing.
Yeah, the question of talent and compensation are intertwined.
Correct.
They are not two different issues. Clearly, they're intertwined, and I'm sure as we go along, clients will see more value in having a good quality talent at the right agency.
Absolutely.
So please give Mr. Sam Balsara a big round of applause for making sure a Monday morning is, as thoughtful as it can be, and sharing his expertise and his experience and his predictions for the future. Give him a bigger round of applause there.